Hi, I'm Richard Watts, founder of HR Maritime. Welcome to Commodity Brief, the show all about commodity trading in partnership with Dukescopy TV. In this episode, we'll be looking at tankers. This is the second of three parts where we're looking at the different types of vessels used for transporting goods around the world. So in the last one, we looked at dry cargo vessels. Now we're looking at tankers, and afterwards, in the next episode, we'll be looking at container ships. So when we're looking at tankers, tankers are used for carrying all types of liquids around the world. And so we're carrying oil, we're carrying different types of chemicals, we're carrying juice, and we are carrying different things like wine. However, we're really talking about the transportation of oil around the world, and essentially that is crude oil and refined petroleum products. So whenever we're looking at different types of vessels, these vessels are normally loading either at shore terminals or discharging at shore terminals, but they're also doing a lot of operations at offshore terminals for the loading and discharging. Whenever we're looking at tankers, we can break them down into different sizes. Now these sizes, the easiest way to look at it is what type of commodity are they carrying. And so the small tankers are excellent for carrying refined goods. This is where you have goods such as gasoline, marine gas oil, things such as that, and also different types of chemicals which need to be handled very carefully, which can be contaminated easily, and they need to be separated one from the other. And so we're using small vessels from about 10,000 up to 45,000 tons of cargo. We then have a number of vessels which can be used for different types. So they can be used for refined products and they can be used for crude oil, but we have to be very, very careful when we are switching from one to the other so that we don't contaminate the refined products with the last cargo that was on board. And so these we're looking at the LR1, the long range, the Aframax and the LR2. And so these are 45,000 tons up to about 160,000 tons. Then we move on to the really large vessels. These are the vessels used for transporting crude oil. And so here we're talking about the VLCCs, the very large crude carrier, about 250,000 tons of crude, and the ULCCs. These are 300,000 tons and up. These are really the monsters of the shipping world. The largest vessel that ever sailed the seas was the Seawise Giant. It was also known in a period as the Knock Nevis, and this could carry about 550,000 tons of crude oil. However, this vessel had problems. Because of its size, it was not able to transit through the Suez Canal. It could not use the Panama Canal. And in fact, the distance from the waterline of the vessel to the bottom of the vessel was 24 meters. To give you an idea of what that means, if you're sitting on the 8th floor of a building and it sails down the road next to you, you'll be looking at the waterline of the vessel. Absolutely massive. Also, when we're looking at tankers, we use tankers for transporting different types of gas. And so we're talking about LPG, liquid petroleum gas, and LNG, liquid natural gas. And we see these being transported and traded in much larger quantities in many more places around the world. And we see gas now being used as fuel for some vessels. And we saw the first bunkering operation being performed quite recently. Now, we can't talk about tankers without mentioning pollution, which is always a risk, and so we have to do everything we can to reduce that risk. One of the things that's been done in the last couple of years is obliging every tanker to be double hulled. That means that if there is a collision, if there's an impact, a grounding, then there will be a hole in the outside hull and not in the inside. This has caused a lot of the older vessels that only had one hull to be scrapped, and means that the average age of the tanker fleet is about 8 years old at the moment, which is very young for ocean-going vessels. Now, also when we're looking at tankers, when we're looking at product tankers, we have other different criteria as well. So first of all, we might have segregated tanks. And so this means that within the same vessel, we can load completely different cargoes, and we can ensure that those cargoes will never ever touch each other. We also have the pumps, and the pumps is to pump out the cargo from the vessel. Every vessel is designed to be able to pump out the cargo within 24 hours, irrespective of the size of the vessel. And we have heating coils, because there are some cargoes which need to be heated in order for them to be pumped out or to be loaded into the vessel. So that brings us to the end of this episode, and next episode we'll be looking at containers. So thank you very much for watching Commodity Brief in partnership with Dukascopy TV. Please click back soon.